And we are now live, Mr. Chair. Go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you. We'll call the Finance, Audit, and Tendering Committee meeting to order. Is there any conflicts of interest? No? Okay. Okay, can I get approval of the agenda?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Move into discussions. The first one is the land use and strategic planning consulting services update. I don't know if that's...
So Tina's going to give an update on that one. If you would, Tina, please.
Thank you through the chair to council. As everyone knows, we are in the process of having the RFP come to a close. It will be closed as of March 3rd. We have our team together to be conducting the evaluations so that we will have a report with recommendations ready for each of the strategic initiatives and intergovernmental cooperation, the Planning and Heritage Committee, the Finance Committee, and then on to council to hit the agenda for the March 14th for award, and then continue on with the timelines from there, which have been publicized in the RFP and in the addenda that followed. One of the things that we are looking at here is we wanted to update the committee, that we had discussions with the chairs of the various committees earlier to try to coordinate the award of the RFP, because we are under very tight timelines, and that we came to the conclusion that we would try to do so via email on the 10th through the first two committees, and then on to finance to hopefully have that completed and an agreement come to for recommendation of award by the morning of the following day, so that it could hit the agenda for council on March 14th for discussion of award. And that's where we currently stand with that. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Ramsey.
Thank you for that, Tina. And as you said, I've been sitting in those meetings. When the RFP goes out, is like, we're going to be asked this question anyway, so I may as well ask you. Is there any of the local companies would be bidding, would you know? Or is there anyone at PEI can do this job?
Through the chair to Councillor Ramsey, it's kind of a loaded question. I don't know if I would be in a position to say to you whether or not there are firms in PEI who are capable of doing this job. I have to wait for the proposals to come in and view them in a very impartial way. But it has been thrown open to all. So if they're able to pull together a proposal and meet the requirements of the RFP for both the strategic planning process and the official planning process, then of course they would be considered.
No, I'm not saying that we should go with them. I'm just wondering if there's any companies on PEI that has that expertise, I guess, because we will be asked that question again, like we are everything else. Thank you.
And the mayor wanted to speak, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
You're on mute.
You're on mute, Mr. Mayor. Your worship, you're still on mute?
I should be off.
No,
Can
you're
you hear
off
me?
now. You go ahead.
Yeah. So, Mr. Chair, I'm going through the RFP. We're looking at the pick-up. First of all, could I just ask a couple of questions to Tina? Tina, who will be on the evaluation team? And yourself, for sure. Hello?
Sorry, just trying to get my thing off mute. There will be representatives from finance, myself, sustainability, and an external consultant, and planning, obviously.
Okay. So I'm looking at the timelines, Tina. This is what we discussed just before the meeting started. So if council approves it on the 14th, if the tender is in, because it closes on March 3rd and then the evaluation is done, it says kickoff meeting March 21st, 25th. So kickoff meeting for the evaluation team or the departments that you spoke to prior to, that you spoke to previously. I think it was the planning, I think strategic priorities, finance, and human resources. So just explain the kickoff meeting. March 21st, 25th. Is that starting the whole process?
So A kickoff meeting is generally where you have your contract in place. You've already done the award. It's gone through all the approvals, and you're sitting down to lay out a more streamlined process for what's going forward. That meeting could actually even occur a little earlier, depending on the contract execution process. Usually, like to give it a week in case there's any kind of back and forth, even though the contract was published with the RFP. But that's what that is. So that would be the first kickoff meeting. Obviously, myself would be present, and there'd probably be a collective group to have that discussion.
And just, Mr. Chair, just a supplementary question. So public engagement begins April 2022, and I'm assuming that's public consultation, or can you clarify that, Tina? What's public engagement means? That we go out to the community with public consultation meetings, or is it the successful bidder goes out and starts gathering information?
So what we've done is, in order to give them an opportunity to get the plan rolling and to set up the meetings and to establish stakeholder groups that should be consulted and things of that nature with us, obviously, that is going to be the actual public engagement, stakeholder engagement, in whatever form that takes. So we'll have to see the proposals that come in, what that will look like. And again, it'll also be impacted one way or the other, whether it's in-person surveys or however it's going to be done. COVID will also have an impact if restrictions tighten or loosen again, as the case may be. But that's the idea. It'll begin the consultations that will impact both the strategic planning process and the official planning process. And then after we get through that initial phase, hopefully by the summer of this year, we will have a strong enough strategic plan and support for that strategic plan from council that it will be used to influence the draft official plan, and then we move forward from there into a more intensive official planning process thereafter.
Yeah, so it does match 2.3 of the contract, or the proposal engagement strategy. Engagement of citizens, business and community organizations, city council and staff is key to both the strategic and official plan process. Okay. And do you, again, going back to your timeline, just the last question, Mr. Chair, I know I've asked, it talks about meetings, public consultation. That's where council, I know Councillor Duffy would remember when council developed the first official plan and zoning development bylaw for the new city in '99, there were a series of public meetings, public consultations. There's one in September. Are we just looking at one? Is that it? Or can you give an answer to that now, Nancy or Tina? Just going down. Did you get my question, Tina?
Are you still there, Tina?
Sorry, just had to, I was scrolling down to look at my timeline so that I was answering your question. If you note the timeline, that's when public consultation on the official plan proper commences. It doesn't say that it's necessarily completed within that month. That's when it starts. So there's a whole time frame that flows thereafter in terms of by the time you get to an official plan that's in a good enough place, if you will, to be presented for approval. So there's a whole stretch of time thereafter. That's when we anticipate it commencing. And the reason we chose September is, quite frankly, this summer, you know how this place swells, all the events and everything that occur in the summer. We thought it'd be very, very difficult to get people to participate in that kind of planning when they want to be out in the sunshine. So that's when it commences, is in September.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay. All right, so we can move on from there. Guess just need a motion to move into closed session as per section 119(1) subsection E. We okay there?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Just stand by, Mr. Chair, please.
Thank you.